Yeah. Well, and that's the system your nervous system grew up in.
Mhm.
And so even if you don't act that way when you're living in your new country, everything can work just fine. You go back into that system, your nervous system, it's native. That's its native
Yes.
tongue. And so that's what I see a lot of people in our community going through is like everything's fine as long as we don't go back. And that is a test, but also it's a challenge. And so if you're just at the start of this journey, or what is a first step? Is it noticing that your nervous system is reacting? Is that a good first step? And then maybe what how do you talk to your partner or your kids about this, or do you?
Yeah, it really depends. I think every situation might be different, but one of the recommendations I generally have is, again, a lot of compassion and a lot of patience. Nothing, again, you're
Yeah.
competing against a archaic system of protection, like
Yeah.
your prefrontal cortex, it's very evolved, it's very powerful part of our brain, but it's competing against the other one. So it's a lot of patience and compassion and awareness, and get all the help that you can. Because I also think that the more hours you put, the more effort you put into getting out all the pain, because it's all about crying out, crying out, speaking it out, kind of processing everything that happened to you with your parents, the better, like then your life will be
Yeah.
much better, because then you will be in a better place. You might not be in the profession that you don't want it to be at all in the first place. You will have better relationships, because it all boils down, like people become, I see it in a lot of coaching sessions, people become their little children around their parents, little children. It's like they're completely two different people. It's just because we all have our inner child
Yeah.
inside. And when we're around our parents, we
Yeah.
become that. So, and the second
Yeah.
thing I wanted to say is, um, it's about responsibility. Like our parents did, I work a lot on forgiving, and moving on as well. Like my parents did the best that they could. All parents do the best they could. Like we also have to,
Yeah.
I do a lot of work with my course around imagining how your parents were when they had you. How old were they? Like my mom was 21. Can you imagine? 21.
Yeah.
21. She couldn't finish
Yeah.
university. How would I
Yeah.
be if I had to parent? I became a mother almost double that age of my second child. That's like all my
Yeah.
life. Like, of course, I'm going to be a different parent. So, putting
Yeah.
ourselves in their shoes, because there was no therapy, there was no awareness, there was no internet, there was no information. There was nothing. They were operating in a
Yep.
vacuum, in a complete, desert.
Yes.
And then take
Yep.
your own responsibility. I can't blame my parents for everything. No, 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 because that's victimize. Victims don't recover.
Yeah.
Victims are stuck, and you cannot grow if you're just thinking of yourself as a victim. So you can consider yourself a survivor if you really lived any kind of traumatic experience or dysfunctionality, but you can move on and then just focus on your children. Focus
Yeah.
on the day to day to your children.
Yeah. And I like to say that you have to come into a new relationship with your parents. So this forgiveness of them doing their best and it's still not quite being what you need. By the way, that's going to happen to my kids. I already know. Like you can't be everything. So that recognition for yourself, being that good enough parent, for me, that is a beautiful thing because it brings you into the next level of a relationship. It can bring you into a next relationship with your own parents that then starts it can benefit your own children as well, assuming, it could be bumpy, maybe it's not possible. But if it is possible, it starts that system healing or changing a little bit. And that's important for your kids if you're going to keep a relationship with your parents, even long distance, which I think is most people's preference if it can be healthy. But then when you're in that with your children, when you're abroad, you can kind of skip it. You can kind of skip it. And so do you see people think they've gone a lot of way in healing a lot of these things and they go back home and it goes right
Yes.
back? Do you see that
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah.
And so how do you help them navigate that? Because this is a big deal. People going home for holidays, for
Yeah.
whatever. It causes a lot of
Yeah.
stress.
So, a few things that I've observed that help a lot is, well, first of all, 100% of the focus, if you look at our conversation, is about self. It's about us, right? Like we can't change our parents and we
Yeah.
can't prevent our kids from developing in many different ways, right? So it's all about us. So
Right. Right.
the focus that I do is mostly on the parents and forgetting about the outcome, right? Like, so when you come home, when you go
Yep.
back home, one of the things that I've seen very often is the expectations are always very high because we have something that in psychology we call false hope. We always will, the hope never dies that our parents will be different, that they will see us, that they will do things differently. There's this expression in
Yep.
Recovering the 12-step program that talks about don't go to the hardware store to get milk. Like
Yep.
sometimes they can't say I love you, or they can't give a hug, or they can't revert back how you're feeling, or they can't listen well, or you don't feel listened to because they can't. They don't have that ability. They have
Yep.
never learned it. They never got it. It's extremely difficult to, give something that you never got. So
Yep.
lower the expectations. It's very sad. And
Mhm.
most of the times you go through a grieving process whilst you accept that. That's why accepting is so difficult and you want to change, because change almost excludes grieving, and we will do anything that we can to avoid that grief process. But the only
Yep.
way that I found of healing is going through the pain. The only way out is
Yep.
through. So lower the expectations. Sometimes it's about no damage control. Don't make the problems bigger. They can do whatever they want. Just stay on your lane, clean your house, as in your body, yourself, like make sure that your house is in order.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes create healthy boundaries wherever you can. So, for example, I realized that I took for granted that I would invite myself to my father's house. I would say, we're going from this to that date. And I would assume that I'm always invited and always able to go.
Welcome.
And
Yep.
of course, my father is never going to say no. You're not, like we have plans, or I mean, unless they really had plans. But
Yep.
sometimes it's okay to be in other spaces, rent yourself a house somewhere else, go shorter periods of time. Like sometimes we just assume that our parents have moved on as well. Their house is their house, their lives are
Mhm.
their lives, they're not parenting us anymore. Some of them might not be very
Yep.
comfortable with being grandparents either, for some reason. Some are really
Uh-huh.
really up to the job, and some are not very good with kids and they don't like kids. So
Yep. Yep.
how can you create a setting that is not a recipe for disaster? And that looks differently for different people. For me, it means that
Yep.
I have a cap of the amount of days that I can be in either my mother's or my dad's house. Because I have observed through the years that if I stay longer than that, they say in Dutch, familie en vis, 3 dagen bleven fris. Family and fish
Huh?
only are fresh for 3 days. Of course, it rhymes in Dutch and not in English, but I love that expression. So don't overdo it, like, and and also think reversely to you, like, how would you be if suddenly 4 people came into your house for a whole week or two? That would destabilize anybody. It doesn't matter how healthy you are. It's a tough
D
thing.
And it doesn't matter how much you love them.
Exactly.
It's still really,
Exactly.
really
Yeah.
tough. Okay, that's this week's clip for our summer special. If you're new here or you've joined us recently and missed some of these earlier conversations, this series is for you. We're taking a little break from recording new episodes, but there are certain moments from past episodes we really wanted to share while we're away. If today's episode resonated, you can find the link to the full original episode and all related resources in the show notes below. Thanks so much for being here and letting House of Peregrine be part of your summer, no matter where in the world you're listening from.